In 1854, a London neighborhood called Soho was killing its own residents. Within a single 10-day period, 500 people died on a few city blocks. Cholera, vomiting, sudden collapse. Whole families gone in 48 hours. Nobody knew why. A physician named John Snow walked the streets, mapped every death, and traced them back to a single public water pump on Broad Street. He removed the pump handle. The deaths stopped almost immediately. The handle was the only intervention. No medicine, no quarantine, no hospital, just a single physical act that proved, for the first time in modern medical history, that water could carry disease. But here's what most people do not know about that story. Just 50 years before John Snow's investigation, a Scottish bleachery owner named John Gibb had already solved the problem. In 1804, in the textile town of Paisley, Scotland, Gibb built an experimental water filter. A box filled with layers of sand and gravel, dirty water in the top, clean water out the bottom. He used it for his fabric bleaching operation, then sold the surplus to townspeople for a halfpenny per gallon. By 1807, his filter was supplying clean water to the city of Glasgow. The technology Gibb built was not lost. It was simply not yet trusted by London. By 1829, an engineer named James Simpson installed the first municipal slow sand filter at the Chelsea Waterworks Company on the Thames. It became the first treated public water supply in the world. Within decades, every major British city was using slow sand filters. By the time John Snow removed his pump handle in 1854, the technology that could have saved those 500 lives in Soho already existed in working installations not 5 miles away. The water on Broad Street had simply never been filtered. This is the slow sand filter, a water purification system that uses no chemicals, no electricity, no replaceable cartridges. It costs under $200 to build. It produces between 100 and 300 liters of safe drinking water per day from almost any freshwater source. It removes 99% of bacteria, 99% of protozoa, and significant amounts of viruses. Before we go further, one clarification that matters. This system is not a universal solution. It does not remove dissolved chemicals. No chlorine, no fluoride, no heavy metals like lead or arsenic. If your water source has industrial contamination or high mineral loads, you need a different treatment stage on top of this one. What the slow sand filter does, and does exceptionally well, is eliminate biological pathogens. That is the specific threat that has killed people throughout history, and that is where this technology is unmatched. The World Health Organization has stated that no other single process can match its impact on water quality for biological contamination, and almost no American homeowner has ever heard of it. If you find this kind of documented engineering history useful, Cryptos covers it regularly. Subscribe if you want more of it. Now let us continue. So how does a barrel full of sand purify water that would otherwise kill you? The answer is one of the most elegant biological systems ever harnessed by human engineering, and what makes it work is not the sand itself. It is what grows on top of the sand. When water flows continuously through a bed of fine sand, something starts happening at the surface within the first 10 to 20 days of operation. A thin biological layer forms on the top of the sand bed. The Germans gave it a name in the late 1800s. They called it Schmutzdecke. The word translates literally as dirt cover or filth layer. It sounds unpleasant. It is anything but. The Schmutzdecke is a living biological community roughly 1 to 3 centimeters thick. It contains bacteria, fungi, protozoa, rotifers, algae, and various aquatic insect larvae. It is alive, it is breathing, it is feeding, and it is the actual filter. The sand below it does almost nothing chemically or biologically. The sand simply holds the Schmutzdecke in place and allows water to pass through slowly. When raw water enters the top of the filter, the Schmutzdecke does 3 things simultaneously. Mechanically, the sticky biofilm matrix traps suspended particles and even microscopic organisms. Chemically, soluble organic compounds get adsorbed onto the surfaces of the cells in the layer. And biologically, the microorganisms in the layer actively eat the contaminants. Pathogenic bacteria like E. coli and Salmonella get consumed by larger predator microorganisms. Protozoa like Giardia and Cryptosporidium get trapped and digested. Some studies have measured pathogen removal rates above 99.9% for a properly mature Schmutzdecke. The water that emerges from the bottom of the filter has been through what is essentially a miniature ecosystem. The pollutants did not get removed by chemistry. They got eaten. This is why slow sand filters work better the longer they run. Most filtration technologies degrade with use. A carbon filter saturates and fails. A reverse osmosis membrane fouls and gets replaced. But a slow sand filter actually improves during its first month of operation, as the biological community on top matures and stabilizes. After that, it can run for months on end with minimal intervention. Some municipal slow sand filters in the UK and Netherlands have been in continuous operation for over 100 years. Now, the construction is simple enough that someone can build one in a single afternoon with materials from any hardware store. The basic design is a vertical container roughly the size of a 55-gallon drum, which is about 200 liters in volume. The container can be plastic, steel, concrete, or even ceramic. Plastic food-grade barrels are cheapest and safest, costing around $40 to $80 used. You start at the bottom, install a bulkhead fitting near the base with a perforated PVC pipe running horizontally inside the barrel to collect water. This pipe is wrapped in fine mesh or geotextile to prevent sand from washing through. The fitting connects to an outlet pipe that delivers your filtered water. Above the drainage pipe, you place a layer of coarse gravel, about 5 to 10 centimeters of clean washed gravel, ranging from 5 to 15 millimeters in size. This layer prevents the finer sand above from washing into the drainage pipe and clogging it. Above the coarse gravel, you place a layer of medium gravel, another 5 centimeters or so, with grain sizes between 2 and 5 millimeters. This is a transition layer. Above that comes the most critical component, the fine sand bed itself. This is where the Schmutzdecke will form. You need at least 60 to 80 centimeters of fine sand in the column, and the particle size is the variable that most people get wrong. The grains need to fall between 0.15 and 0.35 millimeters in diameter. That is a narrow specification. It is finer than typical play sand, which usually runs 0.5 millimeters and above. It is coarser than silt, which drops below 0.06 millimeters. If the sand is too coarse, water moves through too fast, the Schmutzdecke never gets adequate contact time, and pathogens pass right through. If the sand is too fine, the filter clogs within days and flow stops entirely. You can buy filter sand specifically graded for slow sand filtration, or you can sieve regular construction sand to specification. Either way, rinse it multiple times before loading until the rinse water runs completely clear. Above the fine sand, you leave a layer of standing water called the supernatant layer. It needs to be at least 10 to 15 centimeters deep and kept constant during operation. This layer feeds oxygen to the Schmutzdecke. At the very top, you install a diffuser plate, a flat piece of perforated plastic suspended just above the supernatant water layer. Without it, raw water poured directly into the barrel would punch a hole through the Schmutzdecke and break it apart. The diffuser breaks the flow and lets water enter gently. Total parts list: 1 55-gallon food-grade barrel, 1 bulkhead fitting, a few feet of perforated PVC pipe, a small bag of geotextile or fine mesh, coarse gravel, medium gravel, fine filter sand graded to 0.15 to 0.35 millimeters, a diffuser plate, basic plumbing fittings for the inlet and outlet. Total cost: between $80 and $200 depending on what you can source locally. The build itself takes a few hours. The patience and the attention come after. Here is where most first attempts go wrong. The first mistake is impatience. People build the filter, fill it with sand, pour water through it, and expect drinking water the next day. It does not work that way. The Schmutzdecke needs 10 to 20 days of continuous water flow to form. During those first 2 weeks, the water coming out looks clean but has not yet been biologically purified. Do not drink it. Use it for irrigation or laundry. Most people give up before the filter even starts working properly. The second mistake is wrong sand. Beach sand, play sand, mason sand. The grain sizes are too inconsistent or too coarse. The 0.15 to 0.35 millimeter specification is not a suggestion. It is the reason the system works. The third mistake is letting the filter dry out. Once the Schmutzdecke is established, the sand surface must stay wet at all times. If the supernatant water drops below the sand surface and the biological layer dries out, the entire microbial community dies within hours. You start over from day one. This is not a passive system you can ignore. Continuous flow setups are more forgiving because water is always moving through. Intermittent filters, where you fill and drain on a schedule, require consistent monitoring. A float valve connected to your inlet can automate the water level. Without something like that, you need to check it regularly. The fourth mistake is overfeeding. The recommended flow rate is 0.1 to 0.4 cubic meters per square meter of sand surface per hour. For a 55-gallon barrel, that translates to 100 to 300 liters per day. Push more water through faster, and you overwhelm the biological layer. Pathogens pass through. The filter looks like it is working. The water is not actually safe. Now, one thing worth being direct about. This system is sometimes described as free to operate. That is true in terms of consumable costs. You are not buying filter cartridges, you are not buying chemicals. But operating it well does require ongoing labor. Every 1 to 3 months, when flow noticeably slows, you drain the filter, remove the top 1 to 2 centimeters of sand including the spent Schmutzdecke, and let the system re-ripen over another 10 to 20 days. That scraping process, called wet harrowing, takes an hour or two of physical work. The point is not that it costs nothing to run. The point is that the effort is manual and intermittent rather than financial and recurring. That is a meaningful difference, but it is still real effort. That scraping process, called wet harrowing, takes an hour or two of physical work. A properly maintained filter can be cleaned this way 20 to 30 times before the sandbed needs full replacement. The point is not that it costs nothing to run. The point is that the effort is manual and intermittent rather than financial and recurring. That is a meaningful difference, but it is still real effort. A mature slow sand filter will produce safe drinking water from creek water, pond water, rainwater, and mildly contaminated well water. It removes turbidity, color, odor, organic compounds, bacteria, protozoa, and a meaningful percentage of viruses. It does not touch dissolved chemicals, heavy metals, or industrial contaminants. Know what your source water contains before relying on this as your only treatment stage. Because the global water filtration industry generates over $25 billion per year in retail sales. Every Brita pitcher, every Berkey, every reverse osmosis system under your sink generates recurring revenue from replaceable filter cartridges. The average household in America spends between $100 and $400 per year on filter replacements alone. A slow sand filter eliminates that entirely. A system that runs on biology and periodic manual maintenance is simply incompatible with a business model built on selling replacement parts. Slow sand filters never disappeared. They got pushed out of the consumer market. Municipal systems in Europe still use them at industrial scale. The Hampton Roads Sanitation District in Virginia uses slow sand filtration for portions of its water supply. Several smaller communities in Oregon, New York, and Idaho still operate municipal slow sand filters. NGOs deploy biosand filter variants, the household scale version of the same technology, in over 50 countries. Community water organizations in rural Colombia have been building them for decades. A weekend of work and 3 weeks of patience produces a system that can supply safe drinking water for a household from almost any freshwater source indefinitely. You do not need this filter to drink water tomorrow. You can turn on the tap. But if the tap stops, if the well pump fails during a power outage, if the local utility issues a boil notice, this is the kind of backup that used to be standard infrastructure on rural American farms a century ago. A barrel of sand quietly producing potable water. If you want to start, do not build the full system on your first attempt. Build a 1-gallon test version with a small bucket. See how the principle works. Watch the water clear. Then scale up to the full barrel when you understand what is actually happening inside it. Nobody has to teach this in a classroom. It teaches itself once you start.